This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the town of North Haven.
Who is it?
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our April Board of Selectmen meeting. I'm Mike Frieda, North Haven's first Selectman, joined as always by our second Selectman, Mr. William Piper, and our third Selectwoman, Ms. Sally Buemi. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to ask everyone to stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 2, any public comments to tonight's agenda?
Well, we have to do some amendments to the agenda. So I think, well, first, are we sure no one has any public comments? I kind of jumped in too soon. Okay, so this is under item 8 of our agenda, appointments and resignations. We have 2 adjustments to make. First, I will make a motion, this is on the resignation of Nicholas DiCello from the Board of Finance. It should read, resignation of Nicholas DiCello effective March 16th, 2023. So that's my first proposed amendment. The second one is the second item regarding the appointment of Lori Jean Hannon. That should read, the appointment of Lori Jean Hannon, 26 Highland Park Road, to the Board of Finance to fill the unexpired term of James J. Leonis, set to expire November 30th, 2025. So that is my second amendment to the agenda.
All right, in the form of a motion?
Yes, I make
Okay.
that motion.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 3, the approval of the minutes of our special Board of Selectmen meeting of March 1st.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Item number 5, North Haven's Youth...
4.
I'm sorry, 4. Approval of the minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting on March 2nd.
I'll motion to approve those minutes.
Second?
Motion, second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for that vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Item number 5, North Haven's Youth Laureate, Naomi. Are you here? There she is. There's the young lady. How are you, Naomi?
Good, how are you?
Very well.
It's good to hear.
Go right ahead.
Right ahead? Okay. Should I introduce myself first?
Please do.
So hello, my name is Naomi Bornstein. I am North Haven's first Youth Poet Laureate. I'll be working with the library for the next 2 terms to promote poetry in our community, especially among teens. And yeah, I'm really excited. I'm currently a student at North Haven High School and ECA, which is the Educational Center for the Arts in North Haven. And yeah, so, and tonight I will be reading a poem titled Summer Drive Down Route 95. Little boy boredom intoxicates us with mentality of, we are gods, and gods can eat as much sweets and ride as many rides as gods please. New England's old sun paint backs red as they stick to metal of Sizzler. Dad says only babies scream. Keep monotone Mona Lisa smile. Think about pig's weight. This year we'll get it right. We win prize of pork chops at Right Off Highway Diner. Closed down 2 years ago. Discovered on drive back from new, nameless big name city. Doesn't smell like green grass blooming from spring dirt under nails. How would you like it if I stayed here a while, longer than planned, because the brain is too slimy to hold without, it's slipping out of your hands. Plopping on the floor to make strawberry ice cream puddle, like the one from county fair childhood days of laugh at 23 white hairs in brother's beard. Next time there'll be 46. Engine rumbles louder at 60 miles per hour than it did when we first shaved. Our beards in rest station mirror and merged while going 100. Praying 4th of July fireworks don't fly out of truck. Trunks of trees get thicker, stone walls mossier at this edge of town. Just focus. There's a white-tailed deer watching us go by. Eyes so big, world quivers when she blinks. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi. That was a wonderful job. We are delighted to have you here this evening. We appreciate what you do. We appreciate your talent, Naomi, and we look forward to working with you for the next few years. And I think you've got a great future ahead of you.
Thank you.
Can we expect such a fine poem every time, for every meeting?
Very good. All right, we're going to skip item number 6. There's no overview tonight. I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Boemi.
Yes, I had requested a follow-up regarding Peters Rock. I did this because you might recall last month I left the meeting rather quickly because there was contemporaneously a meeting over at the rec center regarding the Peters Rock issue with the mountain bike trails. And so I had put it on the agenda last month, and I said, you know, let me just hold off and see what's going on at that meeting, and I just wanted to report back. So thank you for accommodating me on this issue. I did attend, and you know, I spoke out against these mountain bike trails on two fronts, well, maybe 3 fronts. But first, the process was not proper. They never contacted the town. They did this on their own without any plan being approved. And you know, this is town property, and it should have gone through a proper process. And it also exposed the town to liability issues, in my opinion, because it was built by someone that I don't know whether he was qualified to build it or if he had ever built these before. So there was certainly liability exposure. And thirdly, I just felt it was not in compliance with the mission statement of Peters Rock, which is passive recreation. These trails are not passive. They have a lot of ramps and dangerous, like balance beam type structures. I did go up there. I saw this personally myself. So, you know, I'm not going by hearsay. I'm going by things that I saw personally up there myself. And it just didn't seem to be in agreement with the hiking and bird watching and other passive activities that have been going on at Peters Rock for years. And so for that reason, I spoke against it. But it's primarily a process issue. Our town ordinance does not allow biking in our parks unless there's a very specific area designated for biking. To me, this was a real simple issue to take a position on, and I felt very strongly about it. It is my understanding that most of the structures have been taken down, and that the town officials, along with the town attorney, are looking into some sort of plan to restore the park. So I'm very happy. The Park and Rec really didn't have any action to take that night. They just stated that they did not support changing the ordinance to allow biking. And so I was very happy with the outcome of that meeting. I wrote about it in my column that I have in the paper. You know, if anyone wants to talk in more detail, they can contact me. But that's pretty much why I was against it. Improper process, too much liability for the town, and just not in compliance with what that park is supposed to be. So thank you for allowing me to follow up on my feelings about that park.
So let me tie into this, okay? That I feel 100% the same way you do. And we weren't too happy when we found this out. So even if the Park Rec and Recreation Commission took action and kicked it over to this Board of Selectmen, it would be categorically rejected. We're not doing it. I've had emails from people, oh, Mr. Frieda, you should take out insurance. We're not taking out insurance. I've had people emailing me saying that, Madison does it this way, they have no problems. Madison had problems, because I know the chief elected officials. So there is a process. The attorneys are involved, the infrastructure is being stripped, but the process may take time, and we're going to continue with the process. So I've said here to our staff, I'm not having any discussions on this, because it's a done deal. I'm never going to support it for as long as I'm North Haven's first selectman. So with 200 phone calls that come in here a day, we have our hands full in here. So it's never going to happen, even if it gets to this Board of Selectmen. This will not go through. That's what I can assure you. Bill?
I think the other, in addition, I think if anybody, wants to, all the committee, for Park and Rec Commission and all the other boards and commissions are online, so you could actually read the minutes. And I think it was pretty explicit in the minutes that they unanimously, the Park and Rec Commission unanimously decided not to send this to the Board of Selectmen, like you were saying.
Right.
After they had the meeting and heard all the, with the town attorney there as well.
And we'll go back to Sally's point, because she's absolutely right about this. So this was purchased with taxpayers' dollars years ago under the conditions of passive recreation. Mountain biking with infrastructure, rails, trails is not passive recreation. It's a liability. And in another municipality, they couldn't even get liability insurance because of the risk of the injuries. In another municipality, somebody broke their neck and the town was sued. So, again, I'm going to just repeat it one more time, folks. Even if it comes to this board, which it's not going to, but even if it does, it'll be categorically rejected. Okay.
Yeah, I consider it over, but again, I put it on the agenda tonight because last month I said I would.
You said you would.
So I
agree.
wanted to follow up. I don't want people saying, hey, you said, you were going to bring it up, so I wanted to bring it up and discuss it. And so I think we can move on.
Very good. Okay, so we're now on item number 8, appointments and resignations. So Sally and Bill, I'll turn it over to you.
Right. I'll do the first one. I will make a motion to accept the resignation of Nicholas DiCello effective March 16th, 2023, 26 Melissa Drive, from the Board of Finance with a term to expire November 30th, 2023.
I'll second that resignation.
So we have a motion and a second, and in the discussion, I'd just like to share that Nick was going to be good for us. And, Board of Finance member, Mrs. Barrett's here tonight. The Board of Finance members enjoyed working with him. But he's a young guy that quadrupled his salary from working at Stanley Black & Decker in New Britain to now become working with a private equity firm in Manhattan. So he'll be relocating his family. We will miss him. I thought he had a great future for us. It really did. But he has to do what's best for his family, and this is what's best for his family. So Nick, if you're watching, thank you very, very much for your service. Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that.
Second. All those in favor?
Well, I just had one comment. We're accepting his resignation tonight, but again, his letter said effective March 16th, so we have 60 days
Yes.
from March 16th to fill it, so, it should be, it's gonna have to be done at
Yes.
the May meeting,
The May
otherwise
meeting.
we'll need a special meeting.
That's
So
exactly right.
I just wanted to clarify that the 60 days, I believe, runs from his effective date, not from
That's right.
from tonight.
You got that down, so, yeah.
Okay,
All right. Okay, next.
well, we have to call for a vote.
Yep.
We voted?
All those.
No,
all-
we-
all
no, we
those-
didn't vote.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Yes, and I will make a motion for the appointment of Lori Jean Hannon, 26 Highland Park Road, to the Board of Finance to fill the unexpired term of James J. Leonis, set to expire November 30th, 2025.
I'll second that amended appointment that we put through earlier today.
So we have a motion and a second. In the discussion, Lori Jean was our town registrar, working downstairs with Jim Carew. She's resigned from that position, and she'll now be joining the Board of Finance. So all those in favor?
Aye.
And then I'll move the appointment of Robert Nielsen, 50 Satram Drive, to the Economic Development Commission, term to expire December 31st, 2025.
Second?
All right, motion, second. Discussion. Rob, thank you for your willingness to serve. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so Sally and Bill, I'm going to let you take it from here, okay?
Yes, item 9, it says we must consider and act upon a fair housing resolution for the town of North Haven. I believe we do this every year, so I will read the fair housing resolution, town of North Haven. Whereas all persons are afforded a right to full and equal housing opportunities in the neighborhood of their choice, and whereas federal fair housing laws require that all individuals, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, or national origin, be given equal access to all housing-related opportunities, including rental and home ownership opportunities, and be allowed to make free choices regarding housing locations. And whereas Connecticut fair housing laws require that all individuals, regardless of race, creed, color, national origin, ancestry, sex, marital status, age, lawful source of income, familiar status, learning disability, physical or mental disability, sexual orientation, or gender identity or expression, be given equal access to all housing-related opportunities, including rental and home ownership opportunities, and be allowed to make free choices regarding housing location. And whereas the town of North Haven is committed to upholding these laws and realizes that these laws must be supplemented by an affirmative statement publicly endorsing the right of all people to full and equal housing opportunities in the neighborhood of their choice. So now therefore be it resolved that the town of North Haven hereby endorses a fair housing policy to ensure equal opportunity for all persons to rent, purchase, obtain financing, and enjoy all other housing-related services of their choice on a non-discriminatory basis as provided by state and federal law. And be it further resolved that the Chief Executive Officer of the Town of North Haven or his designated representative is responsible for responding to and assisting any person who alleges to be the victim of any illegal discriminatory housing practice in the Town of North Haven, and for advising such person of the right to file a complaint with the State of Connecticut on Human Rights and Opportunities, CHRO, or the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, or to seek assistance from the Connecticut Fair Housing Center, legal services, or other fair housing organizations to protect his or her right to equal housing opportunities. I will move the resolution as read.
I will second that resolution.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, call for that vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next.
And I think that's a resolution we've done every year at this time.
Yes.
And I think this is another important resolution that we also do every year at this time. To consider and act upon a resolution designating April as National Child Abuse Prevention Month in North Haven. Whereas child abuse and neglect is a serious problem affecting every segment of our community, and finding solutions require input and action from everyone. And our children are our most valuable resources and will shape the future. And child abuse can have long-term psychological, emotional, and physical effects that have lasting consequences for victims of abuse. And protective factors are conditions that reduce or eliminate risk and promote the social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children, And effective child abuse prevention activities succeed because of the partnerships created between child welfare professionals, education, health, community, and faith-based organizations, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and families. And communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that create strong and thriving children and families. And we acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and contribute to promote the social and emotional well-being of children and families in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment. And prevention remains the best defense for our children and families. Now therefore be it resolved that the governing board of the town of North Haven declares April 2023 as National Child Abuse Prevention Month in the town of North Haven, and urges all citizens to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to the task of improving the quality of life for all children and families.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve that as read.
Second?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll call for that vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next.
Yes, item 11 is to consider and act upon a resolution adopting the 2023 SCRCOG Hazard Mitigation Plan Update. That's known as SCROG. It stands for the South Central Regional Council of Governments. So you're going to hear me saying SCROG, and so I felt like I should. It's not a very nice sounding word. What is SCROG?
I think I felt when I was two-time chairman of SCROG.
Chairman of the SCROG.
Chairman of SCROG, right.
It sounds like some sort of
I went through it
fish.
twice.
I don't know.
Chairman of SCROG.
SCROG, yes, all right. So I will read this SCROG. Whereas the town of North Haven has historically experienced damage from natural hazards, and it continues to be vulnerable to the effects of those hazards profiled in the plan, i.e. flooding, drought, ice jams, hurricanes, severe winter storms, thunderstorms, tornadoes, and wildfires. Boy, these people are lots of fun, aren't they? Resulting in loss of property and life and threats to public health and safety. I shouldn't joke, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very serious plan that we're adopting tonight, and it's essential that we have this in order, so excuse my little joke, please. Whereas the town of North Haven has developed and received conditional approval from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, for its Hazard Mitigation Plan Update entitled 2023 SCROG Hazard Mitigation Plan Update under the requirements of 44 CFR 201.6, and whereas public and committee meetings were held throughout the planning process regarding the development and review of the plan, and whereas the plan specifically addresses hazard mitigation strategies and plan maintenance procedures for the town of North Haven, and whereas the plan recommends several hazard mitigation actions projects that will provide mitigation for specific natural hazards that impact the town of North Haven with the effect of reducing vulnerabilities and protecting people and property from loss associated with those hazards, and whereas adoption of this plan will make the town of North Haven eligible for funding to reduce long-term risks for future hazards, now therefore be it resolved by the town of North Haven Board of Selectmen, 1, the plan is hereby adopted as an official plan of the town of North Haven. 2, the respective officials identified in the mitigation strategy of the plan are hereby directed to pursue implementation of the recommended actions assigned to them. 3, future revisions and plan maintenance are required by 44 CFR 201.6 and FEMA are hereby adopted as part of the resolution for a period of 5 years from the date of this resolution. And 4, an annual report on the progress of the implementation elements of the plan shall be presented to the Select Board by the Public Works Director. in accordance with the authority vested in the Town of North Haven Board of Selectmen, they thereby adopt the 2023 SCROG Hazardous Mitigation Plan Update. So I will move for the adoption of this resolution as read.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I just wanted to note, I think there's, there's an addendum specifically for all the towns that participate in the South Central Regional Council of Governments, including North Haven. So, we have our own addendum that I think addresses, it's not a general report. Beside the overall report, we have our specific addendum. So I'll second that motion to approve the resolution as read by Sally.
All right, so to Bill's point, in the discussion, for those that don't really know what this is about, this actually started when I was chairman of the SCROG. And the SCROG is 15 municipalities in the South Central region. There's 5 council of governments. That's COG, C-O-G. As Sally mentioned, the SC prefix is South Central. There's a Hartford COG, there's a River COG, and us chairmen used to get together at CCM meetings. But the importance of this is, at the time that I was chairman for the first time of SCROG, we started to get hit by tornadoes, hurricanes, all kinds of storms, and in areas in town that had never been flooded before, what we found was people were getting significant flooding. So we started this process back then. Since then, and we were fortunate this year, but since then there have been additional tornadoes, hurricanes, flooding all over town. What this does is allows us as a council of governments to submit the plan with the addendums as Bill Piper just mentioned, and it allows us to file for federal funding through the state to help do some of these projects. Now, the other night at the town meeting, I talked about a drainage project in town that we got word is now went out to competitive bid. Some of the bids came in at $1 million. We had projected, I think, $350. That was our max that we could possibly spend on this. The low bidder came in at $737,000. We're not going to be able to do this project, folks, particularly in a tough budget year. So what this does, it allows us over the course of time to apply for federal funding sent to the state that we can earmark or try to earmark the money for by identifying those areas in town that need this type help. Todd Drive South is a good example. It's in a national flood zone. So that would be an example. The Army Corps of Engineers would have to get involved with that. Some of the areas in town, we've had Public Works carve out culverts. We've done it ourselves to try to buy some time. But in what's called 50 and 100-year storms, at some point in time, there's not much any municipality could do to prevent that. But all we could do is try to fortify the infrastructure to absorb as much of the storms as possible over the course of time. So I appreciate you reading it. Thank you. That's what this is about.
Right. It's critical for us, especially with recent history, to adopt this plan, as you say, for the funding, and also to just have the plan in place, because we've certainly had our share of the tornadoes especially. And yeah, flooding has been a problem in various parts of town for many years. So I fully support that we adopt the SCROG's hazard mitigation plan.
Which is updated every year.
Yeah,
Right.
we do
For
this.
exactly that reason.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It does, there are FEMA maps in there in terms of flooding risk and critical infrastructure in our addendum. Where it lists, the obvious facilities in town, including like firehouses, police station, are all critical infrastructure for our town.
Okay, number 12, William.
We have to vote.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So we had the motion and a second to adopt.
Right. All
So-
those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank you. And then item number 12 on our agenda is call for the annual budget town meeting to be held on Monday, May 8th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the auditorium of the North Haven High School, 221 Elm Street, North Haven, Connecticut, to conduct the following business. To consider and act upon the recommendation of the Board of Finance to take action regarding the budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, and to establish the due date and number of installments for the payment of property taxes, real estate, personal property, motor vehicle, and supplemental motor vehicle in accordance with sections 12-142 and 12-144A of the Connecticut General Statutes. And pursuant to section 7-7 of the Connecticut General Statutes, to adjourn said town meeting at its conclusion and to submit the question concerning the adoption of a budget for fiscal year July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, to a vote by paper ballot on Tuesday, May 16th, 2023, including the establishment of the exact hours of voting at referendum pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 7-9B, that voting will take place between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. at the following North Haven polling place. All districts will be at Mildred Wakely Rec Center, 7 Lindsley Street. The aforementioned recommendations will be placed on paper ballots as the following question. Shall the town of North Haven, in accordance with the recommendation of the Board of Finance, approve and adopt a budget consisting of $61,643,954 for the Board of Education and $59,856,429 for the town government, for a total amount of $121,500,383 for the fiscal year July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. Voters approving said question will vote yes, and those opposing said question will vote no. So I'll move to actually call for that, for the annual budget town meeting to be held as described in what I've just read.
All right, is there a second?
Well, before I get to seconding, I just wanted to discuss this for a moment. Of course, calling the annual budget town meeting, or any town meeting for that matter, is a very important administrative duty of this board. But, you know, this is my 10th year on the board, and when I saw the agenda with this on there, I looked at the last 10 years, and half the time we put off calling the budget until late April, after the April Board of Finance meeting. And half the time we called it at this meeting in early May. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is, you know, we had our public hearing a couple of nights ago. It was very well attended there weren't 300 people there, but there were more than 2, which we've had plenty of public hearings with 2 people there. And there was some discussion, and there were some questions, and the discussion about maybe tweaking the budget a little bit. And I wrote in my column urging people to attend the meeting, and I said, look, this is your chance to go and ask questions, and you really have an impact, and that your comments will be taken into consideration at the April 19th Board of Finance meeting. And in fact, at the public hearing, you said, Mike, almost the exact same thing, that your comments will be taken into consideration. Now, you know, the numbers here are the exact numbers of the budget book that was presented at the public hearing. And just to call it now just seems to fly in the face of our promise to consider their comments at the April meeting. Now, if you're saying that you're putting this in here at this time, in the event that the Board of Finance makes no changes that affect the bottom lines, then I could see having this here now. then, or if you're saying we can do it now, we're here meeting now, and so if it doesn't change, then we don't have to call a special
Correct.
meeting. So if that's the main reason,
Yeah, Don, just explain.
yeah,
Yeah, this year, the budget is a little bit different.
Yes.
In past years, it's been pretty much a no tax increase, and it's been hardly changed, I don't think changed at all after public hearing and town meeting. So we put it we got kind of in the habit of putting it on the agenda so that we didn't have to call a special meeting after the Board of Finance meeting. And then that way we were just all set, it was all done. But I think there was one time where it did change and we had to call a special meeting to
There were a couple,
reread the
yeah.
call and change the numbers.
All right.
And we can do that. We don't want to discourage any change, but we're just trying to say if there isn't any, then the housekeeping is done. If
Well-
there are changes, then we'll call a special meeting.
well, I'm glad that that's the position here, because for folks who might have read me say, what you say matters, and you saying that, I want people to understand, people might be hearing us not approving, only the taxpayers approve the budget at the referendum, which will be May 16th. But I don't want people to think these numbers are etched in stone just because we're calling it. This is an administrative function. And the comments that were made are important to this government. So I just wanted to make that clear. I'm certainly going to second this and support it for those reasons. But for people who are paying close attention, saying, wait a minute, Mr. Frieda and Sally both said, our comments are going to be taken into consideration. Why are they calling it now? So that's why I'm bringing this up. I think Mr. Frieda would agree with me that comments from the taxpayers matter to this government. They certainly will matter to the Board of Finance. And so with that understood, and with you folks out there really understanding the importance of attending meetings like the public hearing, don't take this as any effort to minimize the importance of your participation in the process. That's why I just wanted to take a few moments to express that. And with that said, I will second the call
Yeah, and I
for
think,
this meeting.
I was going to mention the same thing, that it just sets the time and place, and as item number 1 mentions, to consider and act upon the recommendation of the Board of Finance. With the upcoming Board of Finance meeting, that recommendation may change. which I
Right, but
think,
because the numbers are in here too, that's why I
I think we had
have
to
put 'em
put the
in.
numbers
Yeah,
in there
I
for
know that.
better or for worse.
I know
but
that, but I don't want to think, oh God, they called it, that it's done.
At least we got the time and place set, which is where it always is in terms of being at the rec center.
Yes, it has to be the
but yeah, the
second
numbers are-
Monday.
I think it's well taken that, as you were saying, Sally, that the numbers are maybe subject to refinement.
Okay, I just wanted the folks who were paying attention out there to know that, the Board of Finance will still be meeting on April 19th, and we'll see what they do. They may make changes that don't affect the bottom line. That's happened before, too.
That's probably what might happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, I think you did a nice job reading it, and I think you did a very nice job in summarizing it. So
Thank you.
Okay, so.
Okay, so I seconded, we're ready to go.
All those in favor? Aye.
All right. All right, number 13, I will move the property tax refunds as listed in our agenda.
I'll second those property tax refunds.
All right, motion second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for that vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next on the list is bond releases. I'll read the first one. Number P17-32, 342 Washington Avenue. Amount of the original bond, $35,000. Current balance of bond, $35,000. I'll make a motion to release the entire bond balance of $35,000 in accordance with the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the town engineer.
Second?
All right, motion second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This is regarding I-06-36, 1943 Hertford Turnpike. The amount of the original bond, was $2,500. The current balance of the bond is $2,500. I will make a motion to release the entire bond balance of $2,500 with a recommendation of the Inland Wetlands Commission and the town engineer.
I'll second that recommendation of Sally's.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then the last bond release is P 20-28, 8 Massimo Drive. The amount of the original bond, $5,000. The current balance of bond, $5,000. I'll make a motion to release the entire bond balance of $5,000 with the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the town engineer.
Second?
Motion, second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Sally and Bill, for reading those very long resolutions and reading them so well, so I appreciate that. Item number 15, the next regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen is Thursday, May 4th, here at Memorial Town Hall. We're at the point, ladies and gentlemen, item 16, public comment. Sally Fowler.
Okay, no disrespect to the board, but I'm moving the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, in the 10-plus years that, can you all hear me? In the 10-plus years that we've been speaking to you about child abuse, or anything was mentioned, we have talked to you about statistics. We have shared promotional items. This year we're giving out a addition for pens, bags, we're giving out a jar of lid remover. And if nobody got one, please see my husband after the meeting. We talked about being aware of the problem and how to report anything that we see. Last year I talked to you about not becoming a what-if person. A what-if person is someone who saw something, weren't sure if they really could report it or not. Decided, well, I don't want to get involved. And they didn't. And then something happened. And they wondered, what if I had said something earlier, if anything could have changed. Tonight, I want to talk to you about child abuse from the victim's point of view. Now, to put this into perspective, I want to ask you a rhetorical question. You do not have to answer it. When was the last time you sent a tweet, a text, an email, or a Facebook message to someone? Did you check your spelling first before you hit send? Did you check your grammar? Did you check to see if the message you were trying to send was going to be understood by the person you sent it to? And finally, did you see the message from the person you were sending it to from their perspective? Now, I'm going to give you an example of that. Years ago, and I'm going to date myself now, years ago when the only thing we had was email, I was sitting calmly at my desk at work, writing out a very nasty email to someone. I was very upset about it. Don't ask me what it was about, because I cannot remember. But I was writing this email, and my colleague came by and said, "You can't send that out, Sally." And I said, "Why?" And they said, "Because all your letters are in capitals, and they're bold. And some of them, and I tend to put exclamation points after everything." She said, "You're yelling at the person. They're going to delete it before they even read it." I went, "Oh, I didn't know that." So I rephrased my email. Okay. For you to participate in this interactive example, you're going to either have to close your eyes or look at the wall, look at your hands, look at the floor. Turn off your phone. Do not look at your phone right now. Okay. I want you to imagine you're 10 years old. If you're a boy, you come from a great family, mother or father, siblings. You might like to take things apart and put them back together again. You love playing outdoors, climbing trees, getting dirty. You might have joined your first Little League team. Everything is great. Until one day, you notice that Daddy doesn't come home when you have dinner. He's not at the dinner table anymore. And then Daddy isn't there when you go to bed. And that's too bad because he told great bedtime stories. And then you notice something really bad. Mommy and Daddy are yelling at each other a lot more than they did before. And it gets really loud and scary. And at 10 years old, any kind of argument like this can really scare a kid. So you're kind of scared, and you go into your bedroom, and you go into the furthest corner of your room, and you curl up into a ball. And maybe you take your siblings with you, or they take you, they're older. And then your mom decides, apologize. You're going down the hall one day, and you notice a picture hanging in the hall, and you never saw this picture before. And you wonder why it's hanging in the hall. And your mom says, well, we thought it looked good there. So one day, when your mom's not around, you take the picture off the wall, and there's a fist-sized hole in the wall. And now you decide, oh gee, I gotta be careful. I gotta walk on eggshells all around my daddy now, because I'm scared of what he's gonna do or say. And then Mom decides to take a jog outside the home. And she's not home when you get home from school. So a neighbor comes and stays with you, or maybe you get a babysitter. And while Mom is doing this, Dad has suddenly taken to being home all the time. And you think, this is great, I'll be able to spend time with Daddy and play. But that doesn't happen. Because Daddy has to go and stay in his room, or he's sleeping, or something else. And then one day when Mommy is at work, Daddy hits you. Oh, not where anybody can see it, but he does hit you. And he says, don't tell Mommy I'm sorry. It happens again and again. And one day you come home from school and Daddy doesn't live there anymore. Now, this is what we call a classic case of child abuse. And it's very obvious from what I've told you that the father lost his job. And he lost his job and he became angry and he couldn't control his emotions. And he lashed out the most innocent person in the whole family, his 10-year-old child. If he got into drugs or alcohol, doesn't matter, but he lost control of himself and hit his child. Now this is minor compared to what we've seen over the years, but it's still child abuse. Now let's take this example and go a little bit further into a child as a teenager. So by the way, that incident of the 10-year-old, it did happen in the state of Connecticut. The 16-year-old could be a boy or a girl. If you're a boy, well, you're not playing outside too much anymore. You still love cars. You've got a great family. Mother, father, everybody, siblings. You want to go to trade school because you're good with your hands when you get out of high school. If you're a girl, you've given up dolls. You might have joined a dance club, or you're taking lessons in soccer. You're on the school newspaper. Maybe you have a boyfriend. You're learning how to drive. You've got the prom coming up. Things are great in your world. The only problem is you don't understand math. Now you'd be a B plus A student if you could get your math grade up. And you need your math if you're going to go to high school, you go to college. So your dad, who's really supportive, says to you, well, why don't you tell your boss you need less hours in your part-time job and stay after school with your teacher. And that kind of works for a while. And then your mom says, well, I've got a good idea. There's a man who has a shop in town. I know him really well. And he'd be willing to be your tutor. And you'll go after school to his shop, and he'll teach you about math. And he's really friendly and nice, and this will help. So you do. And at first, you're not really sure if this is going to work, but it does. And all of a sudden, your grades go up. And whoa, your parents are happy, your teacher is happy, the guy is happy, everybody's happy. Until one day, the man touches you in a very inappropriate way. And you think it's an accident because you're in the back of the shop, there's, material and desks all around, and maybe, you know, he just walked too close to you or something, and you kind of dismiss it. But then it happens again, and again, and again. And you screw up your courage, and you say to the man, this is not right, you can't do this anymore. And he says, okay, I promise, I won't. Don't tell your folks. So he doesn't, or the boy or the girl doesn't, but the abuse continues. And then they're scared. You know, you're scared. You're saying, well, I gotta get good grades for my school, and if I don't go, I won't get them. So what do? So I screw up my courage and I go and I tell my father. And your father is very supportive and says, well, take less, you know, tell him that you have more hours at work, or your team needs you more for practice, and gives you ways to get out of it without really losing your ability to study. But that doesn't help. And then you go to the receptionist at the store and you say, you know, this is happening. And they say to you, well, this is my boss. He couldn't possibly be doing anything like that to you. And she doesn't believe you. And then you say, oh, gee, what do I do now? So you see a delivery man who comes to the store regularly, and you say, this is what's happening to me. Can you help me? And the man says, absolutely, no problem at all. And he calls the police. And they come and they investigate. And you think, oh, thank goodness, they'll stop. Because now what's happening is you're no longer in the store, you're in the man's house. Remember, you're 16, you don't have your license yet, you can't get away. And you're scared, and you think, well, the police are going to investigate, this guy's going to get arrested, everything's going to be fine. But it doesn't. They come back and say they couldn't find anything. And are you sure you're telling the truth? Because unbeknownst to you, the man told the police that, well, they tend to make things up. They want more attention. So it continues, and you're still scared. And a couple months later, you see the delivery man again by chance. And he asks, how's it going? And you tell him it hasn't stopped. And it's getting worse. And now I'm at his house. And the delivery man, thank God, calls the police and says, investigate further. And they do. And the man was arrested and charged with 10 counts of sexual assault in the 2nd degree and 13 counts of risk of injury to a minor. Ladies and gentlemen, that incident happened in our town last year. Now, to put it really personal, my husband and I knew this man. We did business with him. We saw it in the paper and we went, like this. We couldn't believe it. He even took our bags. He knew about our program. He took our bags. He took our promotional items. But still, he was doing this, and we did not know. So, abuse can happen anywhere, to anyone, to little kids. Now, how many of you were parents? Okay. We tell our kids to watch both ways before they cross the street. We tell them don't eat candy before dinner. We tell them that program is not exactly great for you to watch on TV. We tell them to be careful if a bully comes around and just walk away. What we don't tell them enough is to watch out for relatives, coaches, anybody who could actually harm them. Now, this 10-year-old girl had no way of knowing that she could actually talk to her school resource officer, had no idea that she could actually talk to a teacher or a school nurse, which she could have. But being 10, maybe not. But the 16-year-old could have. He could have reached out to a teacher, a coach, his minister, his priest, the school resource officer, and anybody who would listen to him and believe him. That's the key. Anybody can, you cannot stress this enough, folks. Nobody should be made to feel the way these kids have felt. in their lives. And these instances keep continuing. And because of COVID, when everybody was locked up close, nobody knew that these things were happening. And they were. And we said to you last year, it was going to be worse this year than last year because everybody was closed in and nobody knew this was going on. And it's still getting worse. So I would like to leave you with just one thought. Don't be a what-if person. Don't be somebody who says, well, I know this person, they couldn't possibly do this. Or I know this relative and they just like to hug a lot. Please be aware that the person you say could be your loved one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Public comment? Okay, so Heidi,
Did I?
You want to go first?
Mary, you talk too much. No, you're much more insightful and thorough than I am.
Mary, would you bite us? You want first?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Heidi.
Thank you, Mary. I can talk about anything?
You get right to the microphone, Heidi, right there.
All right.
Oh, did you join?
Very good job. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Got it? I think so. Hello? Does it work? Hello?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
All right. You might know. Mike, could you reiterate what you said comment-wise with Peter, in regard to Peter's Rock?
Well, I said a lot.
For the,
Yeah, I know, but could
yeah.
you repeat
before you
Yeah.
begin, for the public, please state your name and your address, please. This way everybody can.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, just,
Heidi Bedker
thanks, Heidi.
from 45 Beach Street, North Haven.
Thank you.
So to paraphrase, Heidi, I said that the Park and Recreation Department took no action on it, but if they did and they kicked it over to us, we would not support it. I would not support it. This board would not support it. That's what I said.
Okay. I mean, I did write a letter, and I don't want to bore anybody if that's your stance on the whole thing, but.
Are you on the other side of the issue? You want it?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, so we're in agreement.
We're in agreement.
Okay.
Well, let me just read it. It's short and sweet.
Go for it.
It's,
All right. The Board of Selectmen, illegally, the Mountain Bike Association trespassed on Peters Rock and so far have opened up new trails, created a drainage area with berms and PVC pipe within the wetland, cut down adult trees to accommodate the new trails, and built structures for mountain bike activity. Pressured wood was put down on their trails, redirecting current water courses and implementing a drainage system would impact the wetland area. The Mountain Bike Association went to the Peters Rock Association and illegally went forward as stated because they received Peters Rock Association's approval to conduct these activities. I hold Peters Rock Association accountable. The Peters Rock Association didn't even want a trail map submitted to them. They wanted to review the activities only. The Mountain Bike Association should remove all of their material. Our town shed should not be used for private use, but to contain only town maintenance tools. According to the Mountain Bike Association's current legend map, they plan many more mountain bike structures and trails. It encompasses the entire property. The Mountain Bike Association violated 152-1, sections H and L, which covers destruction of trees and illegal bike activity. This is a town ordinance. Thankfully, the Park and Rec denied an amendment of this ordinance and held the Mountain Bike Association responsible for violating town property. There's also a liability issue. Even if the Mountain Bike Association carries its own insurance, It is still town property, and there are questions as to whether it becomes a legal issue for any injury sustained. Peters Rock should be left alone. It is too problematic to allow a mountain bike association on this property with no town plan to fully monitor it indefinitely. The neighbors are left to monitor it instead. And I'd like to submit copies of my letter and of the 152 sections that I alluded to. And unfortunately, I didn't staple them, sorry, Mike.
That's okay.
But if you could just take it and...
You did a good job reading it. You really did.
I did,
You did
thank
good.
you. No, thank you very much.
You did good.
It's a pleasure to see you again.
Nice to see you as always, yeah.
Everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks a lot.
much.
Thanks. So, Bill,
Thank you.
Sally. Okay, take this.
I just want to thank Heidi for her comments. I've known Heidi for a couple of years. We were in kindergarten. We were in kindergarten together. Those were good times. But let me just clarify, the Park and Rec unanimously agreed not to support. Only a town meeting can amend an ordinance. So I just wanted to clarify that. The Park and Rec had no authority to amend the ordinance. That can only be done by town meeting. But they voted that they would not support amending the ordinance. So
Yes.
I just
that
wanted
was-
to make that distinction.
Thank you. Lynn Sadowski did make that clear to me as well, that it had to go to a town meeting for
Yeah,
the
and-
amendment of this ordinance. From what Mike, that's why I asked you to repeat it.
Yes.
From what Mike Frieda's saying is, I don't think it's gonna go and be
Right.
presented in front of the town.
No,
meeting.
it's not.
That's
That's
just what
not-
I wanted to clarify, but I had to read my.
All right.
my-
By the way,
No,
I'm
we
quite
appreciate it.
surprised. I am quite surprised with some. I thought I knew you the longest for 14 years, but she's gotten you beat going back to kindergarten. so-
Kindergarten, I
Oh,
don't,
yeah.
1960-something.
I've known her for
We're not
14.
gonna state ourselves, all right?
All right. 1980-something. But about the shed, may I make a comment on that? Yeah, you know, some of these structures, ramps and whatever, are stored in the shed. I think that was done because to accommodate them being removed quickly, and I have no problem with those structures being removed quickly, because yes, there's signs there saying no biking, but you know, people could bike anyway. But removing those dangerous structures was of the utmost importance to me. But it is my understanding that the town attorney has limited the time that they can keep them there, and certainly I'm sure we are not responsible for any damages. So I understand your concern. It is our shed and normally private property. You know, I couldn't go and store my tractor there. But I understand that, but if it helped facilitate the quick removal of most of the structures, and they're only there for a limited amount of time, and the town is not responsible if there's any damages done to them, I understand and respect your issue with it, but sometimes you just have to weigh the pros and cons, and so I was just glad that they were removed quickly. So that's all.
You're exactly right. That's how it happened. That's what happened.
So there is a deadline where they have to all be removed.
That's my understanding, that there is, yes.
Thank you.
And they're to be removed. Make no mistake about it. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, Mary White.
Mary White, Summer Lane. So I have some comments about the mountain bike trail. I have some additional information about the features in Peters Rock Park. And then I have some information to support your position, Mike, about injuries and liability of mountain bikes. So I, along with neighbors and approximately 22,000 residents of the town of North Haven, had no idea that for over a year, destruction and illegal activity was occurring to our Peters Rock Park, a historic landmark of open space and passive recreation of hiking, bird watching, observation, photography, and picnicking. My husband Tom and our son Jimmy and myself hiked to the top of Peters Rock when Jimmy was in grammar school. That's when I came to love and care greatly about the beautiful Peters Rock Park. Peters Rock Association Board of Directors self-empowered to allow illegal destruction of a town park, to allow illegal features in the park, and to allow the illegal activities that I refuse to believe the 12 members of the Peters Rock Board of Directors and all the association members forgot Peters Rock Park is a town-owned park. What they did was criminal. So not only did they violate Ordinance Chapter 152, Parks and Playgrounds 152-1, prohibited activities and conduct, L, to drive or propel a bicycle, and they violated H, deface, remove, or destroy real property, including trees, shrubs, plants, and landscaping. They also violated J, which includes in part, operate any vehicle at an exceeding rate of 5 miles per hour. So mountainbikereport.com did a study of 30 riders of all levels. The average speed of off-road mountain bike going downhill, 31 miles per hour to 37 miles per hour. Average speed of an off-road mountain bike while racing on a hard dirt trail where the path is flat, average speed is 18.6 miles per hour. Compare that to adventure.com. The average hiking speed for humans is 1.5 miles per hour to 2.5 to 3.5 miles per hour. Clearly, the intersecting mountain bike trails with hiking trails are particularly dangerous to the public, with mountain bikes exceeding 5 miles per hour. Peters Rock Board of Directors and the association members are responsible for removing every single feature, big and small. My concern, after speaking with a member of town staff, is some of the big features have been left behind, possibly including a PVC pipe in the ravine, large wood features to be infested with termites, and berms in watercourses, wetland areas, and on the trails. Nothing can be left behind, including features that divert the natural watercourses which are polluting the Quinnipiac River. This is unacceptable. Wood trail planks and healthy trees that were felled to clear the way for miles of trails and turned into big features such as balance beam type things remaining will continue to negatively impact the wildlife, including turtles, woodland frogs, and rabbits, to name a few, because they do not cross the trails and features for food. Peters Rock Board of Directors and all the association members are responsible for restoring Peters Rock Park to the way it was. They are responsible for restoring the trails with the soils from the berms and the leaves they blew away. They are responsible for planting trees and any wetland plant and species the experts, wetland scientists, soil scientists, arborists, deem is required for remediation and therefore must be planted back in Peters Rock Park so as to restore it to the way it was. The information on what is needed must not be supplied by lay people. Peters Rock Board of Directors and Association do not think they did anything wrong. So having them come up with a remediation and a restoration plan is not wise, in my opinion. Anything short of full and complete remediation and restoration should not be permitted and would prevent Peters Rock from healing. Before I conclude, I would like to show a picture of just one healthy tree that was taken down in Peters Rock. So here it is here. And can I bring it up?
Sure.
Yes, please.
Come forward, Mary. Absolutely.
So that is coming in, like, from the park to the left.
Yeah.
It's where it was round and round is what they call the trail.
Mhm.
So you can see over here, there's a chainsaw, and then there's their tools over there. And it's hard to tell, but you can see a little bit of a ring there.
Yeah.
And then the color of the wood, that's a healthy tree. I'm not an arborist, but I have common sense. That's not a diseased tree.
Okay. Okay. Bill?
Mary, would you like this back?
Sure.
Okay.
We'll give it back to you.
Excuse me. Wow.
All right, there you go. Okay, Mary. Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Injuries are so common with mountain biking. When visiting PowderRidgePark.com, right at the top, it has a warning that says, this is relative to mountain biking, it says, quote, "Injuries are a common and expected part of mountain biking," close quote. At Powder Ridge Park, a signed liability waiver is required each visit from all bike park guests. Children ages 5 through 14 must be accompanied by an adult, parent, or legal guardian, 18 or older at all times. Children 5 and under are not permitted on the downhills. Children under 18 years old must have their waivers completed by a parent or legal guardian. I'll conclude with, the public's health, safety, and welfare is and always will be the priority. This includes the financial health of the town of North Haven. Thank you, Mike, for continuing to look out for the town and for the public's health, safety, and welfare. We trust you and the town attorney will require all features, small and big, be removed, and there be a full and complete remediation and restoration of Peters Rock Park so it can begin healing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Joan?
No, while I'm reading, but I'm going to be talking about the medical issue. I don't know if you, these are detailed, really good pictures of everything on that mountain. And I don't know if they removed them all. There has to be at least 60-something.
Well, they have time to remove it. They were given a certain length of time to remove it.
Right, John, thank you. Oh, thank you.
A little bit.
Oh, thank you.
That was the type of it. These are, yeah, very, yeah, you don't need explanation, as you can see. Pictures of all the structures. Okay, I'm going to continue where Mary left off about medical. Am I on the mic? Yeah. Sure. You would some
It's for NHTV, Joan, it's not for.
Yes, it's not for the room, it's for
Oh,
recording.
yes, I thought you did that. Well, I'm going to continue with the medical issue that Mike already commented on. I have a report here from the Enduro World Series and Edinburgh Napier University's Enduro Mountain Bike Medical Study. And it says that a study conducted by the Enduro World Series, because they have these big mountain bike competitions all over the world, and they're very, they're very risky at the least. And they found that 40% of the 1,940 Enduro riders questioned reported suffering a significant injury. An injury that lasted more than a month was reported. Shoulder, clavicle injuries make up 25%, wrist, knee 9%, head injuries 7%. And I want to go to head injuries, which is on the last page of this report. And there's a paragraph where it says, concussions and traumatic brain injuries. It's no surprise that mountain bikers have a high propensity for concussions and traumatic brain injuries. As mentioned above, another article, hazards such as trees, boulders, and often riders can head-to-head contact with other riders cause these injuries, often at high speeds, downhill mountain bikers in particular. But you cannot say that at the meeting, Park and Rec meeting, one of the bikers said, oh, well, Peters Rock is not. All they have to do is go over a rock and go head first, and broken neck and whatever else. And Peters Rock, for those of us who have hiked it, we have steep trails there, and the speeds are quite fast. So injuries are definitely, and as you had said, Mike, it really a major concern with having something like mountain biking. Let me just give you these good information here. I'll give you each one of the reports anyway.
You want these back, right, Joan?
Thank you.
I take these?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but I.
All right. Okay.
I didn't do the pictures.
Okay.
Let's see. You know.
Was this somebody in action up there? Was that a real-time shot? Was somebody
Yes,
riding that?
Yeah, these are all recent, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, everything you see here, and these are just the muck,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, from the vehicles.
Right.
That pictures are really good. Now also, I have a couple other things. This is recent. I got these today. They're not photos because we didn't have time to develop them, so I just ran them on my computer. And I'd like you to see these. You have to pass it down. I only have one. That's the mountain bike. Oh, the mountain bikes are still there. Those are fresh mountain bike tracks, and I got that today from a friend. And this is most upsetting. All along the ravine, which is a waterway from the wetlands, part of the wetlands, we see trees like that with the roots all chopped. That tree's not going to live. They did that so that it wouldn't be in the way of the trail. They just chopped it. Didn't chop the tree down. And trail flags all over the ravine area with NEMBA on them. I mean, I don't know if these are new roads or what, but they have all their orange flags, all like they do when they're going to make new trails. Because they do have 2 more trails to make, so they said. Oh, this I have 3 of them, okay. This is one of the, this is one of the big, long, there's a lot of them around there because they can't take them up, or they don't want to take them up. That's one of the big ones, it's 40 feet long. But that's on the side of the mountain. If anybody falls off of that, that's a particularly dangerous one.
Yeah.
These I don't want any of these. That's, and see how it, it's right down, I mean. Yeah, even if you're a professional, I don't want to.
We can keep these? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's
We'll keep these for the record.
Here's the tracks that are from today.
So you can't see these, ladies and gentlemen, but what this certainly depicts is the liability that we talked about before. And these are the reasons why a lot of these insurance carriers won't offer the insurance. And those that do, the premium cost is through the roof. And believe me, I've done a lot of research on this since this first came up. I talked to some other chief elected officials, as I mentioned. It is very expensive, even if they can get it.
One more article. This is the ravine. I mean, the ravine is a very precious area. You can go in through Hermitage to get there. And wetlands, that's wetlands. Do you know what's in our wetlands? They're pipelines, like the Olympics. I mean, that's fun. That's all the way down, and they have wood in there. That's where they have the PVC pipes, which they did take them out. We checked that today. Yeah, but down here, this is crazy. Down here is also wetlands. This came from the King's Mark Environmental Review Team, so it's authentic. There's also wetlands there, and I went to one of their meetings, PRI meeting, and Joanne was talking about, well, we need 750 feet of pressure-treated wood. So I'm thinking, we shouldn't even use pressure-treated wood. It doesn't have the arsenic in it anymore, but it's still got chemicals.
Okay.
So I'm listening at the meeting, and she says, yeah, we want to make a boardwalk on Milltown Avenue because it's so wet there. That's wetlands. They were going to cover that with 750 feet of pressure-treated wood. Wetlands. I mean, and then the ravine, they have wood on the side, it's all eroded. I mean, the ravine needs a lot of repairs.
Was this separate from a member of the board of Peter Rock's Association who wanted to do?
Joanne Krishik, she's a member. She's the vice president. She's the one that said, and then they want to get a grant from.
This is separate from the mountain bike stuff, some other stuff that they want to do.
No, this is a mountain bike.
Oh, this is also in conjunction?
Yeah, because the wetland right there, it's right near Hermitage too. It's wet. Well, they don't know wetlands from drylands. So she said, well, we're going to put all 750 feet of.
But there's no need to do that now because this has all been disapproved.
Oh, they wouldn't dare to, no.
Right.
No.
I just wanted to make sure I understood this wasn't something additional to, so they're not going to do this at all.
That's supposed to be an environmental board. I don't know, have a folder.
You have a folder? Okay, we're going to keep these as part of our public
Here's some more.
record here. And we'll keep it.
And the last article is this. Why
That's
are
why we
they
have them all as part
advertising
of.
Hiker Bikes Rock? This was in the Courier today. The Board of Peters Rock Park is selling T-shirts to raise money for an in-progress mountain bike.
When was that? Today, Joan?
Yeah.
See, they have T-shirts, hike the
Yeah,
bike.
two T-shirt styles, one would hike the rock, the other would bike the rock, are available.
Let me see that.
And keep that true.
Sometimes I can say from history that sometimes they rerun things to fill the paper.
Okay,
So
this,
even though it's a current date, it may not be that the association
All right.
actually ran that ad. The paper itself may have just been filling space and they take.
we gotta stop it,
Right.
okay, we'll call the courier, okay?
I'm not
So,
sure if that's the case, but
All
I've
right.
seen that happen in the past, where they rerun news things
I got it.
to fill it.
Yeah, this is,
I do have a quick
Find
letter
out.
I want to read. Some of it is, reiterating a lot of things. But one comment I'd like to make, I went to the gas station there, I forgot the name of it.
First fuel.
First fuel.
I go there all the time, I always forget the name. And a lady came out of the Peters Rock Trail with two little dogs. I never thought of this till today. She's what, then, 2 leashes, and I'm thinking, oh my God, we're all worried about children getting run over by the bike if they're on the trail with the parents, how the little tots will run ahead of you. No one thought, I see more people walking dogs on leashes there. They will never get out of the way if this were to happen. They'd be killing the dogs and the people. I was talking to the woman, I said, there was gonna be bikes on that trail, but no more. She says, oh dear, she says, I couldn't walk, she definitely wouldn't walk with her.
Yeah.
That's another thought, I don't think anybody thought it was. And I never realized, well, because I'm always getting gas there, how popular a dog walking area is too. I never didn't think much of that. Just something. I like to read my letter with comments. It's a lot of it, we have stopped it, Mike, and the Park Rec, so.
Just for the record too, maybe just say your name and,
Joan Mazur, Cloudland Road. Now, Joan, you that's it, right? You didn't say it, so.
Joe Missouri,
All right.
this way at least it's in the minutes, and for people who watch this on TV, they may not know you.
There's-
They know me.
I just wanted to be sure.
Joan,
'cause-
I'm kind of being implored back there for a time limit here, but I'm going to give you the floor. Okay.
Just only one page.
Okay, go right ahead.
A lot. Okay, Town Hall Board of Selectmen meeting. I have a question for the board. You've heard tonight about all the damages in the rock, on Peters Rock, by the legal permission given by the Peters Rock Association Board of Directors to Matt Fuji, the trail mastermind. Now, what does the town intend to do about it? The cutting of trees, diverting water courses from the wetlands, berms, putting PVC pipes in the ravine, which is a major water course in the wetlands, so they can create a pipeline track. I guess they thought they were in the Olympics. As well as cutting trees 30 or more feet tall, shaving them in half to ride over on the trails. Now, those big logs, they're still there. How are they gonna haul them out of there? And they're all live trees, they were live trees. Then put dangerous pressure-treated surface structures on the trails. Wait, that's not all, there's more to come, but our Park and Rec Commission was notified of their illegal activities and stopped them. They still intended to create 2 more trails, bringing it to a total of 15 miles of trails. They intended to put 750 feet of pressure-treated wood on the wetlands off Middletown Avenue, as the area was too wet to ride over. Then, after all this damage, one of the directors stated she did not know they had asked permission to do this. Did she mean she did not know it was illegal to cut down trees on town property owned by us residents? Put PVC pipes in the ravine, a major water course in the wetlands, put dangerous pressure-treated stuff rise on the trails, and then not notify the hundreds of residents that surround the property. Makes one wonder about the caliber of intelligence of the Peters Rock Board of Directors. But getting back to what the town is going to do about it, official word from Lynn Sadowski and our town attorney, Jeffrey D'Onofrio, is they are kissing up to the board. That's right, folks, they're allowing them to store their stunt rides in our maintenance shed. The big ones they can leave here on the property. The big ones came from trucks from other mountain bike parks. They don't even own them. And I guess it costs too much of them to send them back. They're also instructing them, or they were, as to how they can legally come back and still apply for this disastrous mountain bike park. Like the fox in the hen house, Matt Fuji, the mastermind behind this disaster, showed Lynn and Laura the structures. all of them or some? I wonder. I asked if a couple of us, myself included, of course, who know the trails could go, and we were refused. I have a question for our selectmen. What would happen if my family and I did that damage on Peters Rock? One of my neighbors asked the town if he could cut a tree on Peters Rock property, which was laying on the ground for firewood. He was told no, because if he got hurt, he could sue the town. When my neighbor was cited for a paintball operation, partly in his yard, the town sent the cops to his house. They told him to remove it immediately, or what? Be arrested, fined, etc. What's with the special treatment for the bikers of the Peters Rock Board? Besides paying for and making restitution on the mountain for what they have done, the Peters Rock Board of Directors should be legally charged for the destruction they have caused. They should not be allowed to submit an application ever again for any project on Peters Rock, and I feel they should be disbanded. As a taxpayer who owns Peters Rock through eminent domain, I do not want any of the mountain bike structures, craft, etc. stored, even for 1 minute on property. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joan.
I just want to follow up with a couple of comments. As I said, I had written a column in the paper against this mountain biking as constructed, and so I got quite a few emails in response to that. And one person, well, more than one, said, well, you know, it's dangerous to ride bikes on the street. You can't ride them on the sidewalks. There's no park where you could ride in North Haven. And, you know, this L, it says that you can't, it's prohibited to drive or propel a bicycle except on roads, sidewalks, footpaths designated. Didn't we designate a bike path at Grover Wyman a few years ago in honor of a memorial bike path? So
we did.
So that the ordinance that everybody is reading all the time says it's prohibited to drive or propel a bicycle, but it goes on to say, except on a footpath designated. So we have done that, right? Is that bike path still in operation? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's a third of a mile. It's in Grover Wyman Park, and nobody uses it.
Oh, okay. But, so, you know, we
It's more of a walk path, because just around the place.
But I know it was done in memory of a young citizen.
Right.
And it was a beautiful ceremony and a great memorial to him and his family. And so, you know, I am totally opposed to this mountain bike park as constructed. And if they had gone through the proper procedures, which Attorney D'Onofrio had spelled out at the Park and Rec meeting on March 2nd, with some sort of serene bike path with no pipes, no berms, no structures. The structures that I saw up there were just incredibly dangerous. But there's other areas of the park that aren't, it's 200 acres, and not all of the park is the mountain. There's some, you know, there's got to be some place where there could be a level serene biking. I don't know, but they'd have to go through the proper procedures, you know, but they didn't even do that. But I am totally against any mountain biking. This is an active, dangerous activity. I saw the structures. I saw this one, it's almost like the width of a balance beam. It's about 2.5 feet off the ground. And the fact that somebody would be riding a bike across that it's just unbelievable. So I am against any kind of mountain biking trail as constructed. I wish they had, if they wanted biking, they could have come and tried to get an approved designated footpath somewhere. But, you know, they didn't even do that, so I just wanted to say that.
Sally, we
Yes.
have a lot of trails up there.
Yes.
Right? And if you wanted to put bikes up there, they could ride on any trail. You don't have to have a special, you know, whatever. But we have, like I said, children, we have dogs, we have everything.
Okay.
Okay.
And we have so many people walking, it's devastating.
Yeah.
Folks, there are other people that
So anyway, I
that
just
want
wanted to
speak
make
here
that
tonight,
clear,
so-
you know.
right.
There is a distinction between dangerous mountain biking with these structures and berms and the terrible impact on the environment and the stream and wildlife. I am totally against. If they had maybe come with a different type of little half mile or third of a mile footpath like we have at Grover Wyman, that might have been something, a different story, but they didn't do that. So I just wanted to mention that. We do actually have a designated bike path in a park.
Okay.
Okay,
We do.
thank you.
Mr. Katz, I know you've been waiting patiently back there. Come right up, please.
Sherman Katz, 40 Sherwood Drive. Mike, I promise to keep it under 5 minutes.
Okay.
How long has this been going on, this Peters Rock violation?
Over a year.
Why do you do it now? Why didn't the police go in there and arrest them?
We
when they
didn't
were
know
going
about
up there?
it.
Oh, no.
They did it sneaky.
All right, I'm only going to talk about a couple of things. I'm bringing it up now because you're the chief executive officer and you have control, direct control over this. The pickup, I talked about the meeting the other night. We know it costs in excess of $500,000, maybe $600,000. We can come up with a better idea. It takes hundreds and hundreds of man hours, outside contractors, and police to go through town for weeks and weeks to pick up leaves. And what I would like to see you do is get together with the Board of Education, get kids on the community service, give the residents the leaf bags. Let the town pay for the leaf bags. It's far cheaper than having 4 people go out there and load trucks for hours and hours. I'm sure you could cut a couple $100,000 off that. That's number one.
Tough one. That's very tough.
It's, yeah, the problem
You got what? I
okay,
have the floor.
I know, I was gonna
You only
respond.
have 1 out of 6 or 1 out of 5 people that are pushing to keep this leaf thing. So it's not that you're gonna damage the whole thing. We're paying for those 1 out of 6 people. The other thing I want to talk about, and I've talked about this many times here, vehicles that are illegally registered outside of our town and avoiding paying property tax. I can register my car in Florida and not pay property tax. Number one, it's illegal, and number two, it's immoral. And I don't care that these people are upset that you go after them because they're breaking the law. If someone comes in your house and steals from you, you call the police to put them in jail. I really think it's time that the town buckles down. I know people that have 2 and 3 cars, Cadillacs and SUVs. There's tons of money there that I have to pay for. I think that's all I'm going to talk about.
Sherm, to your second point, we actually, when we see these out-of-state plates, we do the research and we send them tax bills. We've been doing that. Now, we can't capture all of them, but the assessor is going around town and send people bills. So, that's what we're doing.
I'd like to see a list of the people that were caught. I guarantee you it would fit in my pocket.
Okay.
Mr. Katz, if I may speak now.
Yes.
I thought your comment about high school students was an interesting one. My only concern is on certain streets like Skiff Street or Ridge Road or State Street or Hartford Turnpike, the traffic, I see it as kind of a dangerous activity for high school kids on those kinds of streets. But
Then you make an exception for certain areas.
No, well, that's all I wanted to
because
say.
You can't have one thing fit all.
Right,
You
right.
have to adapt. Your street, there's never any traffic on your street. I know because my granddaughter lives.
Around the corner, yes, she does.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sherm. Okay. Anybody else? Tom Way.
Tom White, Summer Lane. I was appalled to learn the Peters Rock Association and Board of Directors had empowered themselves and approved and allowed illegal activities and destruction of Peters Rock Park. I am particularly concerned about the infiltration and destruction of the wetland areas that has occurred in Peters Rock Park. We as homeowners are forbidden to enter or conduct any activities to the wetlands areas on our properties, and we must observe 50-foot buffers to protect the wetlands. So how is it Peters Rock Association and Board of Directors felt they could violate Ordinance Chapter 152? And how is it they believe they have the authority to enter these wetland areas? I find it difficult to comprehend. No one in Peters Rock Association and Board of Directors remembered Peters Rock is a town-owned park property. How can this destruction and illegal activities be prevented from happening in the future when Peters Rock Association and Board of Directors believe they have the authority to make such approvals for Peters Rock Park? I'm suggesting the town administration, together with the town attorney, draft a document which clearly outlines the guidelines for the authority of the Peters Rock Association and Board of Directors regarding Peters Rock Park. This document would safeguard the park against destruction and illegal activities going forward. Doing nothing is not an option and quite frankly dangerous.
I think that's an excellent idea. I do. I really do, Tom. And I know you were hesitant to put your hand up, but I'm glad you did. Val, we'll take a note of that. We'll talk to the attorney. That is an outstanding suggestion. Okay. Seeing no other public comment? Oh,
I have
yes.
one quick comment to make. Nancy Barrett, 1 Crestview Drive. First of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Blemmey for her suggestion about the calling for the town meeting, and that I think it is very important that the people understand that between now and the time of our next Board of Finance meeting, that we are open. Mr. Frieda's office, as well as all members of the Board of Finance, are certainly open to all comments and suggestions from the public, and we will certainly take them into advisement as we meet the next time. And I think it's very important that the optics of that are preserved. So not just the administrative task of calling for the meeting, but that people really do feel as though if they couldn't make it to the public hearing, that they can actually still communicate with us either via email or phone calls and still provide their input. I think that's very important. Regarding the Peters Rock situation, like Ms. Blemmey, I also ran back and forth between the two meetings last month, between the commission meeting over at the rec center and then the Board of Selectmen meeting, and then I ran back again. And again, like everyone, I was shocked to hear about this for the first time. I was also appalled to hear that the Peters Rock Association took it upon themselves to send a letter to someone to commission them to actually do this work to town property. That would be comparable to one of us deciding, you know what, I don't like the way one of my neighbor's yards look. And while they're out of town, getting together a group of people and going over to their yard and doing major work on their property. That's absurd, right? So it's comparable in this situation because the Peters Rock Association does not own this property. In fact, the people of North Haven own it. And so I think that the suggestion that was made by Mr. White to actually have a document drafted by our town attorney, I think is a fantastic one. And the reason why I think it's so important is I went up to the trails just about 2 weeks ago just to see some of these structures myself. And I completely support all of the pictures that were made. I was shocked to see some of these things that were put in place. But the thing that shocked me the most were these little yellow signs, they're no more than this big, that were posted on the trees that say, "Bike trails closed until further notice. Sorry, thank you, Peters Rock Association." Now to me, that does not communicate that these bike trails will be closed forever. It's simply saying they're closed for now until we are able to resolve this issue and we're able to come back to the table. Now, I know that everyone on this board doesn't feel that way, but that's the message that I believe is communicated by these small signs. And while I was there, I witnessed 2 people in these motorized quads that were driving on the trails. And I said, well, that's also illegal because you shouldn't have any motor-operated vehicle there. And I firmly believe when they saw me, they said, uh-oh, we've been caught. So they didn't do anything, but I believe that they were there to further modify the trails. So again, I think that short of having police officers there or some sort of security that is monitoring what is happening on a daily basis, that we have to have some sort of guidelines that are specified that dictate not only how this space should be used, but also the role that the Peters Rock Association plays in terms of directing how this land is preserved, because that is part of their mission, is the preservation of the land, not the modification of the land for the entertainment value of a very limited number of people. And I just think that that's a very important point. So, and my last question is, again, this has just come to my attention through hearsay, that at the last Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, there was something that was on the agenda, and I believe it's been bumped to the next meeting, about the use of 140 Washington Avenue. And I believe that what was at least told to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that there is the potential for a new facility to be moving into that space that both sells guns as well as provides the ability for training in the lot directly behind it for the use of those guns. And I'd just like to get some sort of update from Mr. Frieda, if you could provide one, about the possibility of this proposal.
Well, it really surprised everybody, because under the planning and zoning regulations, you could file for a change of use without an illustration as to what the change of use is. So it came to our attention. I must have had 25 phone calls on this and emails, maybe more. And apparently what happened is there's a gentleman there that has a business, I'm not sure exactly what it is, a small office there, that provides information on how to file for a permit. So under the planning and zoning regs, you could file for a change of use, and then we found out that they want to sell guns there. So I was not happy about it, because it's in the heart of the town, next to a Dunkin' Donuts, next to a park, next to businesses, next to the new Five Guys, Starbucks, and Haven's Hot Chicken that I just brought in there, and in the heart of a development area that I've got big plans for. So what happened was this, and this was very good for planning, that planning and zoning did it. They tabled it for this month, and are going to put it on the agenda for next month, because if it wasn't tabled, the public wouldn't have a chance to weigh in on this. Right. So now the public is going to weigh in on this, and we're encouraging people to come. And with that meeting will probably be moved into the gym next door on Lindsley Street. So we can't have that right in the center of town like that. Like I said, there's a park there. There's all kinds of businesses there. There's more teenagers now going in the Five Guys. There's an office complex there, folks. An office complex there with professional people there.
Right.
And
we're going to have a gun range.
Right. So anyway, so that's what's happening, and I'm not happy about it. So
you're encouraging the public to contact who about this?
To go to the planning and zoning meeting.
Planning and zoning. Okay, and that will be for next month.
Right.
I know that there was a group of people that attended this month thinking that it would actually be addressed this month. So
the reason it wasn't, because it was a change of use which didn't require a public meeting. So the planning and zoning flipped it, tabled it, so that the people can have input. That's what we're doing. Okay?
Well, thank you. I didn't know about it, so thank you for bringing it to my attention.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we all learned things at this public hearing that we had never heard of before. So certainly, both through word of mouth as well as some of the comments that Mr. Frieda made, I think that there's lots of new things that we need to discuss at various board meetings. So I think it's very important for the people to be able to offer their opinions, but in particular about something like this, I have no objection to people owning guns legally in their own homes, as well as as long as they're secured. under lock and key. However, the sale of any type of guns really does communicate a message about the local community, and certainly to have a training facility that really needs to be completely removed from the main drag of any town. So, thank you very much.
So, I want to come back to Tom White. I want to thank you again. That was great, and we're gonna move on this. Okay, Thomas? Thank you. All right. Seeing no other comment, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
Before I second, I just want to on a happier note, congratulate the North Haven hockey team for their state championship since our last meeting.
I was at that game. What a game, ladies and
So
gentlemen.
I want to
What a
congratulate
game.
them. And I was not at the game, but it was on the radio, and I listened to, it's hard to
Yeah.
follow hockey on the radio, but I tried, and it was very exciting. So I congratulate them, and I'm sure all.
And you can too.
UConn too? Maybe Quinnipiac too?
This is.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
That'd be even better with Quinnipiac together.
Second the motion to adjourn.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Have a good night, everybody.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.